sharing and allow David to take us away on the showcase.
All right. Thank you, Lucinda. Good to see everybody that I know here and to see some new faces. So as Lucinda mentioned, I'm David Dalo, and I do some work for GAI as a contractor. I work for them as an analyst and also help on the content side, which is largely where my background is. I've been in content marketing for, I think it might be 20 years now, which is crazy. I most recently was working at McKinsey, where I led the AI thought leadership program for 6 years, and previously did a similar function at IBM for a few years. So I've been around the AI block for about a decade, and along the way have learned a good bit. I always like to share my education on AI actually started with a project that I initiated at IBM, where I proposed that I would interview 30 prominent researchers in the field and create a big content package out of it. So I basically got to learn from people like Yoshua Bengio and Stuart Russell and a lot of the big guns in the area. So I was very fortunate to have that, and fell in love with it immediately. And I've been in this space ever since. So as part of my love for that, I started this project where I began to create comics that were kind of spoofs on all of the news that's been going on around generative AI, which I've been doing now for about 6 to 8 months or so. I release them every Sunday morning on LinkedIn. So I put my information here in the chat. If you follow me, you'll see them arrive every Sunday morning between about 8 and 10 o'clock. And it all kind of started just out of a couple things. One, I really wanted to learn Photoshop better. My very first job out of college was actually as a production editor for a publisher that created cardiovascular journals. And back then, the design layout software that we used was actually Quark Express. I don't know if any of the marketers around here remember that. And then, I always did a little bit of production stuff on the side, and had some Photoshop knowledge, but wasn't super well versed in it. My girlfriend happens to be a textile designer, so she knows it like the back of her hand. And I was like, okay, this is a way I could learn it and also keep producing content online and do something fun. So I kind of put them together and was like, okay, I'm going to start making these comics. And then it just kind of became a thing. So I don't know everything about image generation. So while I'll teach you some tricks that I know, I'm hoping that I actually learn some tricks from you guys. I may be doing something and you might say, hey, there's actually an easier way to do this. And please, I'm all ears. So let me gear up my presentation. And Lucinda, I'm not positive I'm going to be able to see the chat when I'm doing this. So I might rely on you if there's some questions popping up.
Absolutely.
Stop me. So so this is one of the comics that I threw up there a couple of weeks ago when this continued war between Elon Musk and Sam Altman was playing out, when Elon Musk basically filed his lawsuit against Sam Altman, saying that OpenAI is not really open and they went against their charter, etc. And this has kind of like become my style, which I'm not going to give you my special sauce. So I have a series of prompts that I now have saved so that I could replicate this style every time. But I will show you, we will pick our own style. Actually, I was a little ambitious with this agenda and was thinking we're going to try to do, not in completion, but kind of walk through, if we were to do a 2-frame comic, how would we do that? So as I mentioned, I'm not a pro at any of these things. I do have an artistic background to a degree. I am a musician and I'm also a sketch artist, very loosely, I will say that, and I paint. So I have a bit of a background, but if I were to create these comics from scratch and just hand draw them, I am painfully slow. I've taken art classes in my adulthood, and it will, in a semester, take me the entire semester to do a painting, and everybody makes fun of me because they'll have made like 5 paintings in that time. So if I were to do this from scratch, while it takes me a good 4 to 12 hours to do these now, it would take me a lot longer to do this without generative AI. And as you'll see, what I do is I use generative AI to give me base images, and then there's a lot of Photoshop work that's still involved. So I will say, if you want to do something like this, you're probably going to need to learn Photoshop. If I could do it with just image generation, trust me, I would, but it's just not perfect yet. You just don't have fine enough control, especially with character consistency, although we'll talk about there's some good things happening there that will make it easier. But it's kind of like a casino. You hit the button and you see what images come up, and sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not. You're probably going to need Photoshop to get you through it. So, and I'm happy to give these slides later if you guys find anything helpful. But this is my toolkit. This is what I use to create the comics. I'm a heavy MidJourney user. I use that 95% of the time. And you'll see my pluses. There's a lot of pluses in my mind for MidJourney for this. I still find the image quality to me is top notch. You have better control over character consistency, but it's still not perfect, as I said. But it's not quite as easy with Dolly. And honestly, I can barely get any character consistency out of that. So if you guys have tips on that one, let me know, but I haven't cracked the code on it. MidJourney is better for in painting, which basically means that you could just choose a little section of your image and change it by doing generation within the tool, which is another thing that is not available in Dolly just yet that I've seen. Again, let me know. If you want to create actual people that exist in the world, MidJourney, God bless them. They don't care about the the concerns that a lot of the other big companies have around that right now. And if somebody's super famous, like if I want to generate Elon Musk, I get Elon Musk. If you try to put that into Dolly, it won't let you do it. You can do some things where you kind of trick it and say you really want it to look like him, but it's not really him. But I tell you, over the course of time, it's getting a little harder to trick it. I don't always try to get these people perfect, by the way, anyways. Like sometimes I'll just put in their characteristics, and if I get somebody close, like that's fine. You'll see I put little emblems on them from what company they're from in case it's a little off, so you get the picture. Prompting on MidJourney right now is still a little trickier. Everything I'm going to show you actually with MidJourney, which I won't spend an enormous amount of time on it because of this, is going to change because they now have developed a web interface, whereas up till now you have to do this through Discord, which people use Discord purposely because it kind of takes away the need for you to create that nice user interface. But they have it for MidJourney now. It's in beta. Apparently they're letting people who have generated 1,000 images or more use it, and somehow I'm not in that category. I'm not really sure. I must have just missed it because I definitely
Hey,
generate.
David,
Yep.
it's Adam. Hey, good morning. Just if I can interrupt, I know you can't see the hands, but I know they just introduced the character reference thing, so you can create consistent characters. Is that going to be changing your workflow, or are you pretty well locked in already in terms of your process, do you
Yeah,
think?
I haven't experimented with it yet. I just downloaded the instructions. I know it's like cref and whatever. I'm probably going to try it out for this week, to be honest, and that'll be my first time.
Cool. Keep us posted. Thanks.
Yeah, I'll let you know. And thank you. Do tell me if people have hands up because I'm not paying attention to it
Yeah,
at
I
the
can't
moment.
see the hands. So if people are just
Oh,
let
I
people.
didn't throw up my hand.
Okay.
I spend enough time with David that I can just interrupt him.
He's allowed. We interrupt each other all the time on the morning briefing, so it's like this is what our thing is.
Okay.
So,
Cool.
that's my speech about MidJourney. So Dolly, I've already kind of touched on some of these things. What it's best at is that it's very easy with the prompting. It's much more natural language. You just can talk to it and say, hey, create me this image. I want it to do this, but not this. Can you please add this here? that kind of language right now doesn't really work with MidJourney. You have to be a little bit more structured. And I already told you all the things I don't like about it. Photoshop has become much, much easier. I can tell you as somebody who tried to use it 20 years ago to someone who's using it now. While their generative tools in terms of creating something from scratch are okay, not great, the tools that they have that exist already where they've embedded a generative function in it are very good, many of them. So I will show you how easy it is now to remove something from a photo or an image that you don't like. I mean, it's literally circle it and hit a button, which is amazing. You can expand your canvas and it will expand it and, you know, basically continue whatever's in the background there. It's really great. It's becoming much easier to use. And then PowerPoint, obviously it's not exactly a generative tool, although they do have some generative functions in there now. Nobody really likes them. They're not that great for creating slides. I wish they were, because I hate creating slides. But what I do use it for is for the actual frames for my comics, to plop the images into, and for the captioning, because the bubbles give you nice control of positioning, size, where the little arrow pointing to someone's mouth is and stuff like that. So I use that. So was going to kind of try to focus my discussion here a little bit based on what you guys have, don't have, or want to purchase. So if we could really quickly, if you could just use the annotate tool and just, I don't care what symbol you use, just plop something in one of these boxes that tells me like, yes, I use these things, or I want to use these things, so that I can kind of gear my presentation for you accordingly. That would be great.
I don't know how to use the annotate tool.
There's a little pencil up there. And it says annotate, although
Oh, got it. Okay.
some people it's hidden, some people it's in the more category.
Yeah, for me it's lower left, but I have a Windows-based thing.
All right, and as I don't know if I mentioned, but a lot of you probably know, to use Dolly you have to have ChatGPT Plus, like the subscription form with the $20 a month. Okay, so we do have, I see Adam. We do have some MidJourney people here. That's good, and a couple Photoshop people. You know, Adam. Yeah, I understand. It's $10 though, $10 a month. And actually, if you buy the whole year at once, the whole year's $100, so you save like $20. For me, obviously, as a very frequent user, it's very worth it. Okay, so I think I think we're in a good place from what
I guess, David, the other thing I'd add also is that people can access Dolly for free through Copilot on the Microsoft site.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
So that's really accessible for everyone.
Yes.
And isn't Dolly kind of incorporated in with ChatGPT? Because I've tried to build comics with ChatGPT. Like I was in charge of a storyboard for something, so I tried to use that.
Yes. Do you have the paid?
Yeah, I have a paid version.
Yeah, it's in the
Right,
paid.
and yeah, totally agree with you. Like it's very, I try to make my characters similar, but I end up just using the same characters. You know, like it, but I can't get them to be produced twice.
Yeah, that's the big problem. And you know, it's going to be so amazing when you can do that, and the implications for like media and entertainment is going to be like pretty amazing. They're going to be able to do a lot more than they can today. Okay, so let me see if I remember how to clear everybody. All right, I do. Okay, so what we are going to do now, if I could get out of the annotate function here and flip us. Okay.
That was fun class participation, though. I appreciate that.
Oh, we got more. We got more. So we're doing this. We're all in this together. If I can't get this through this real quickly, though, I have some images that are already queued up in case we need them. But I thought maybe we could do this together. We won't finish it, but if we get something good, I'll finish it and I'll post it and say we all have made it collectively, because we will have. So you don't even have to write this if you don't want to, just shout these things out. But and there is a type function if you don't want to have to draw
How
this.
about apples? Yes, everybody's going to say apple.
Which Apple news?
Well,
Google, Google potential?
I would say the larger store. I was thinking the larger sort of, they keep saying they're doing things and
Are they?
nothing ever appears.
I like that one. We can have fun with that one. So let's go with we'll go with Apple constantly being in the news, though we've noted on our news briefing that they have an excellent PR team where they seem to still keep making news even though they're not actually doing anything yet. It's always like Apple purchased this company or Apple's now talking to Google and like, but we're still waiting. What's the thing? What's the thing? So that's a good one. Let's use that as our story. Let me clear, sorry, forget people that are still writing, but we're gonna keep moving just because we're on short time frame. All right, writing has closed, Mr. Washington. Jerry and I know each other because we hang out on LinkedIn sometimes.
He meant to say grok.
All right, so after that, so we're only doing a 2-frame comic. So some ways that you can do that nicely, if you think about, you've got 2 frames, how can you make a message across the frames? Because while this is a lot about image generation, if you're wanting to create a story, you got to think about how you're going to do that too. So you can do like a before and after, right? You could do a cause and effect kind of thing between the two. A problem solution is another one. Expectation versus reality seems to be one that might fit our storyline really well, considering we're talking about Apple making announcements, but nothing ever comes. So one idea, if you guys like this, is that I'm coming up with here is we can have our first frame being, Tim Cook saying, we have so much great things going on with generative AI, and we can show somebody standing up in the audience saying like what? And then the next frame could be him just standing there saying nothing because there's nothing to say. Right. And actually that'll
Or
be
he'd be looking at his iPhone.
yeah. Let me check. Oh, nothing.
With the giant question mark, right, in a bubble.
There you go.
Actually, I like him asking Siri and Siri saying, "I'm sorry, I don't understand," or something like that.
All right, that's all right. I've used Tim before, and he does get generated by MidJourney too, so that's a good one. Okay, so we got our story pretty much lined up. The last question I'm going to ask you is like, what do you want it to kind of look like? Like, what do we want the style to be? Do you want it to be in the style of like a Looney Tunes cartoon? Do you want it like Japanese anime? Do you want it not to be cartoon-like at all, and you just want it to be like photorealistic? We can do that too. Cyberpunk. Yeah, throw a couple in there and we can make them weird and see what
What style, David, is your current comics in? I don't know styles.
That's a special sauce, but that's I have based it loosely on comic book illustration, but with a little extra wording in there to make it come out exactly the way I want it all the time.
I like those.
Ooh,
Yeah,
Dilbert.
Dilbert.
Lucinda's voting for Dilbert.
All right, I forgot about Dilbert. We could use that
Because Dilbert, he got the white hair and then have a little tie that curls up.
Right, I'll be interested to see what MidJourney comes up with Dilbert, like a Tim Cook Dilbert style. So we will roll with that. All right, so what I'm going to do, I am going to clear this out. And now I am going to try to X out of this presentation. Actually, I'm just going to stop sharing for a second so I could reshare my other screens. So let's see. Isn't there one that lets you, okay, here we go. You're going to see yourselves for a flash here, and then I'm going to pull up the stuff. So let me know in a second if you see some comics.
Yep.
Okay. I was messing around before we started with some things we might want to do, and I actually used Looney Tunes to create the card playing. This is, I did a cartoon on where I was talking about AI chips, and I played off of it like poker chips, and I did a cartoon. Some of you guys might have seen that. So MidJourney, again, you may not need to know any of this within the next month, but what you do here, and you have to sign up through Discord. I can give you some instructions on that. You can find them online. Basically, if you get into Discord, you kind of want to create your own room to do this. Like you'll first be put into this room with like everybody else, and everybody's generating images, and they just keep popping up like crazy along with yours, and it's a mess. But there's a way to like open up your own room that just you could just do it in there, and it's only yours. So every prompt starts with the backslash, and now it basically shows you what you want to do. So imagine is the prompt to create an image. So things that I try to think about with prompting is like, what are the things that you want in it? What is the mood? What are like the expressions that you want on people's faces? All that kind of stuff. So here I'm thinking we're gonna say, okay, Tim Cook on stage, speaking to a crowd. What's our setting? We'll just say we'll just want it to look kind of like a futuristic setting and keep it kind of simple for the moment. And then let's make him look happy. Speaking to a crowd, we'll say excitedly. And we want it in the style of the Dilbert cartoon. And then a little tip, if you want to change the size, so this size actually that you see these other cartoons, it's like a 16:9 ratio. The default here is just like a perfect square. But if you want it to come out this way, you do like 2 hyphens, AR for aspect ratio. And then you say you want it like 16:9, and you'll get this like longer one, which we'll do for this. So it'll take a second here. I don't know if anyone has any questions while we're waiting for the magic to happen.
Have you messed with any animation or video, or is it your obviously your art is stills, but are you doing anything with movement?
I am experimenting with seeing if I can do this kind of thing and use runway and get like a little movement in there. What I'm struggling with is a lot of my comics are not just one frame. There's multi-frames, and to get that each to move and still be able to like post it on social is a little complicated. So it's a project that I'm working on.
David,
So,
if you want to chat sometime, I have some ideas, and I've played a fair bit in Runway.
I know
We could play with
I was
that.
going to ask you about it.
Also, I have a question from Matt Strain. He says, how does it do if I upload a comic and ask it to generate a prompt to reflect that style?
Well, what you would do, you can do that. In MidJourney, you wouldn't exactly word it that way. So actually, I'm going to show you a trick that helps it replicate the style of one that you've already put up there. Again, it's not perfect, but the short answer to what you asked is like, you would upload your image to this. You would then click on it and there's a couple of different ways, but what I do is I click on it and I get the link that's now associated with that image because you uploaded it. Then in your prompt, you basically paste in that link as your first thing, and then you tell it what you want. You don't necessarily say like copy this. It doesn't work that way for MidJourney, as far as I know. It hasn't in the past. I get stuck in my ways, as everybody does. So once I know my little lane, I've pretty much stayed into it so that I could replicate things. But then you have a way that you can tell it like how much you want it to replicate that thing by this function called image weight, basically the weight that you want to give to that image, and you put in a number between 0 and 1 to tell it like how much you want to do it, and that will work sometimes, like all of these things. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. So
David, MidJourney also has a describe feature though, right? So you can upload a picture and it will do its best to give you a prompt that reflects that image.
well, and you also can use ChatGPT, which was another thing I was going to go into. You can go into ChatGPT and ask it, like, if I want MidJourney to create this thing, what should I say? And it will tell you. So
Interesting. Okay.
So it looks like, again, this is an imperfect thing, right? Even though we said we wanted to look like Dilbert, for some reason it decided that it was going to do photorealistic. It was going to do this other version that doesn't look like Dilbert, but to me, this upper left is probably our best bet. So let's roll with that one. So what you do is you've got two options here, these U's or these V's. The U's means to up level it, which is basically like it optimizes it, gets it to the right size and resolution, and it'll make it really big. If you wanted to take one and if you were like, oh, I kind of like how Tim Cook looks in this upper left one, but I kind of want to see if it will do something else, then you would hit this tool, the V, which means like it'll vary it to a degree and generate something like it, but slightly different. So we're going to roll with this one. And then I'm going to show you, I'm going to just go ahead and download this one too, because we're going to use it in Photoshop. So I'm going to save it. I made a special folder to get here quickly. Okay. And then, so if I wanted to try to make this, we're going to attempt this here. If I want to make this next frame look like this one, but now we want a person like popping up in the crowd, right? To be like, hey, you know, like what's coming with generative AI or whatever. Actually, this might end up being the second frame, and the first frame might have the person standing up. So what we're going to say is we're going to take this. So basically you would right click but I'm on a Mac, so it's a control click thing to pull this up. And then we'll say copy link. Okay, and then we're going to do our imagine. So now I'm going to paste that link in. So now it knows, right? And then this is what I do. And again, this is me. And because I'm stuck in my ways and I know what works, I go ahead and I grab my old prompt. And I will stick it in there. I don't know why you guys showed up again. Here, let me get rid of you. Okay. But I'll add in the thing that I want to crowd excitedly, and then we'll say one to the crowd excitedly, one person is crowd. This I feel like is not a great prompt, so I'm not sure this is going to work, but that's okay. Let's give it a shot. You guys have any other questions while we're waiting here?
Have you worked with Stable Diffusion at all?
I have not. I got attached to MidJourney and I just rolled.
MidJourney's better. I just was curious.
We've worked a lot with it, and I still think MidJourney is the best, followed by Stable Diffusion.
All right.
Could you have painted a person standing up?
Absolutely. That was going to be
by
the next thing I was
painting?
going to show you. Absolutely.
Oh,
I was just seeing if it would work, which it sort of did. We've got this guy that's kind of propped up here in this one. But yes, that was going to be the next thing I show you. So if you wanted to just do that, what you do here is we'll go back to him and you say vary region. All right, and then you pick where you want that person to be standing up. So let's say here. And what I do, again, this is my little thing. I keep all the descriptions in here, but the first thing, what I want here is what I'll change and say back of a person standing. Let's see what that does.
Can you keep the background? Is that a prompt?
You don't
If
have
it's
to
on
do
the same stage, or can you even do that?
Well, it's automatically going to keep whatever's there. It's only going to change that area that I highlighted.
Cool.
Hopefully. We intend for it to do anyway. Sometimes it has a mind of its own. Okay, see, and this is why I start using Photoshop, because I try not to generate too many images because I'm trying to be environmentally friendly and I also just don't have the patience. So it did not decide that it liked my prompt. But what we'll do, what I would have done in this instance, by the way, is I would have just generated a separate image of the back of somebody standing up in a crowd, and I would use Photoshop to paste it in there, being that I'm a little more well-versed in Photoshop right now. But we did not get that one here. So let me just, let me save this guy. Oops, sorry. So we'll save you upper second one. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, by the way. So we're gonna say up level the second one. All right, we got that. We'll save you. Tim looks a little different there, but we'll just deal with it for now. Okay, so we're gonna move into Photoshop. I'm running short on time, so I'm gonna skip ChatGPT until the very end. I'll maybe show you one quick prompt, but it's quite simple in ChatGPT. You literally just tell it what you want it to do, but I'm a little more excited to show you how easy Photoshop has gotten, because I know a lot of people, myself included, get intimidated by it, but it's definitely, let's see which one we get.
Yeah,
Okay.
David, let's go for another 10 minutes. People can ask questions, etc.
Yep.
And then we'll do open mic at 7:55.
Sure. So a couple things I wanted to show you in here, which are really cool and really easy. One is if you want to remove something from an image, and this obviously works, photos, whatever image you have in here. So this lasso tool here, there's a couple versions of it. You want just the plain old lasso. And let's say this is weird, right? Why is this guy standing back here on his computer? I mean, maybe he's the sound man or something, but let's get rid of him. So we just don't have to draw perfectly around it. You just kind of want to circle it up. And the way this works now is they just pop up this generative tool like right away. So it says generative fill. So you want to click on that. And then what you do is you just leave this empty. When you leave it empty, it automatically assumes most of the time that you just want to get rid of what's there. So you just leave it empty and then you just hit generate. And hopefully he'll disappear. And then for those of you that are familiar with Photoshop, or those of you that want to learn about it, Photoshop is all about doing things in layers. So while it looks like he magically disappeared, he didn't. What it does is it actually draws over it. So this generative fill, see if I take the eye off, boom, he's back. Put it on, he's gone. So it's really just made a mask over it. So what you end up doing later is you merge these two layers together and then it's all in one, and then you can't like bring them back. But I never merge anything until I'm done, because when you want to manipulate things later, there's no going back after you, well, sometimes there is, but generally there's no going back after you've merged it, unless you just merged it, and then you can do an undo. So you can do that like everywhere, right? The other thing you can do is you can fill stuff in. So let's say I made this wide version, but like actually I would rather it be more square. So what you would do is you'd go to this crop tool. So cropping is not just cropping, it's also if you want to add on to an image. Now this one might not work that great. Actually, I'm going to do something quickly because I don't know why the image was cut off there at the top, but I'm afraid it's going to extend it in black if I don't cut that off. Actually, I still got a little more black there. Just be safe. Okay, so I'm going back to that one now because it is for cropping, but it is also for adding. So if I'm like, oh, I really need more background, let's say I wanted to put my word bubble up there, I don't have any room. So you just put this to wherever you want it. And again, it assumes if you've done this and you're not typing in anything specific, that you just want to extend what's already there. Otherwise, if you want to try to put something in it, you can type into it. We can experiment with that in a moment, but I'll just show you how easy this is. It will just do it, and usually it does a very good job at replicating the scene that's there and kind of extending it up. So that's made it a little industrial style here. You get 3 options. Okay, so that's what this is saying here. So you can cycle through the options that it's given you. So this is the first one. This is the second one. It's a little weird. I don't know why I decided to do that. And then we've got one that's like got some nice reflections. Now you can do this again if you're like, I don't like these. If you hit generate again, it'll generate 3 more, but it'll still keep the 3 that you already have there. So you could cycle through those. So I don't know. My thought was this one was kind of cool personally. So, and again, layers, right? It's this background is like a separate thing. You can get rid of it or not. Oh wait, that's my other background. That's that guy. So you can get rid of that. So it's become very easy. So another thing quickly that you can do with Photoshop a lot easier these days, always got to make sure you're on the right layer when you're trying to do something, by the way. If I tried to do something on this layer, nothing would really happen because there's nothing there. But what I'm going to do is actually, I'm going to move this guy so that he looks like he's standing up more. So I know I'm going through this really fast, so you can watch the recording if you want to slow down. I'm just trying to get all these things in. But so there's this magnetic lasso tool, really cool. It's been around for a while, but it's much easier to use now. You don't have to be so fine with what you do. So I want to outline this guy, right? So I'm not holding down like the button on the mouse or anything. I'm just getting like close around him, and it's just knowing that because of the contrast of the colors between him and what's behind him, that I'm trying. So even if I go way off, it doesn't actually pick anything else up because it kind of knows what I'm trying to get at here. And then I'm just going to be sloppy down here. So you can take him, and now I'm going to say, all right, I'm doing a control CV basically to copy him to cut a little time. And it basically makes a new layer with this guy. You can't tell right now because it's replicating what's there, but see, boom, we have a new guy. So, you could even just do this, right? And you kind of couldn't fudge your way into making him look taller, but I would do a little more to remove him from the background, make it all nice. And basically you can also, we can try this. Let's see if we can extend his body. Well, stretch him that way. I forget how to do this. Okay, we'll leave that for another day. But you could also take him and try to use generative expand to expand his body down. I have to remember how to do that, and we're short on time. So Photoshop has become quite easy, folks. And if you can afford the subscription and you really like to use it, I would totally encourage you to do it. So quick demonstration here on the word bubble thing. So this is my little file of like where I put all of my cartoons. So this is the one from last week. So I know everyone makes fun of me for using PowerPoint for this. My girlfriend's like, I'll make you a InDesign form for this. But like, I love that you can do this. You can just kind of put these wherever. It's easy to change the size, blah, blah, blah. So that's what I use for my comics. And you just get this word bubble from basically the little images up here. Where is it? You get it from insert shape, and you use the shape that's a caption. These ones, the thinking bubbles, aren't as easy to control. So this is actually, I did this in Photoshop. So this is actually embedded into that image. So that was a very quick run through, I realize. But as I said, I can make that slide available for you. I did write down all of these things I went through for you. So all the steps in Photoshop are here. Talked about, we didn't get into Dolly, but there is this way of using this Gen ID function to kind of do similarly to what I did with MidJourney, where you basically ask it for the image ID when you generate an image, and then you reuse that ID and say like, make the image look like this. But I'll tell you, 9 times out of 10, it looks nothing like it when I do it anyway. So I've kind of given up on it. So that's it. So if you want my comics every Sunday, just hit my LinkedIn. I put it in the chat. It's like way in the beginning. And you'll hopefully get it in your feed. I also send it, like, I like to do this kind of, old school. Remember, you got the paper thrown at your door, and Sundays were the comics. So I do special delivery through direct message on LinkedIn if you like that kind of thing. So that is pretty much all I had. And I did it with 5 minutes to spare for questions and chat.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, David. Let's see, any other remaining questions at all? And you can do a hand raise if you want. And if not, we'll just go to open mic.
I'm so glad I answered all of your questions.
Yes. Well, it was a very interactive session. Really cool. Thank you again. All right. Anybody read anything that was interesting or tried something and it was hard, or you were really successful, or anything you want to share? I have one. So I was reading this Andreessen Horowitz article, and it was about the top 100, I think, applications in generative AI. So you can look it up like that. And it said, so it was like going through these different things. And so I want to ask you, what do you think is the application that has the most number of sessions, average sessions per month per user? What type of generative AI application? Well, it's companions. So, which I would never have thought, but it's a really cool article. I will try and put it in the link, but it's easy to find if you just look at the top 100 applications from Andreessen Horowitz. RJ.
Yes, hi everybody. So if you look in the chat, I put several links on more for how like beginners can make comic strips. And the one I particularly like is the Hugging Face link, where you can just go there for free and pick which style of a comic strip you want. Like you got the manga style and then the Japanese style and so on. And you can type in what the story is going to be about and any other style information in the other box, like you want it to be outdoors or whatever. And then you click on the caption button and it'll automatically generate the pictures and the captions. And you can edit all of that. You can edit the picture prompt, you can edit the captions. So that's a good tool for beginners and for kids in particular. And then there's another site called dream.ai, which is by Wombo, and that link is in the chat too. And they have a bunch of several different comic styles that they've trained the AI to be very consistent with the faces and so on. So that's for making your own comics in a consistent but fairly limited standard kind of, image of a woman or a man or whatever. So I think everybody will have a lot of fun with that if they want to try that.
Cool.
Great.
Thank you very much. As it turns out, Wombo, the founders, are actually classmates of my son from University of Toronto. So
Cool.
it's really cool to hear that what they're doing. I saw them originally when they were coming out with their TikTok stuff, but I haven't looked at them recently. Thanks for sharing that. Anything else from
So
anybody?
David, your art is so good. Have you thought about adding music to a mood and things like that, just to kind of expand?
Yes, LinkedIn does not seem to let me do that, but when because actually I did a Christmas version and I actually played off of Santa Claus is Coming to Town. So I did all this stuff trying to like get Santa Claus is Coming to Town to play. And it was like a little more involved than I realized, and I was kind of like rushing to get it up, and then I kind of forgot about it. So actually you reminded me that I have to give it give it a go again to put it to music, because it's definitely would be fun.
So this is an extension to Adam, because he's been messing with a lot of video stuff. There's a company called Kaiber, KAIBER.ai, and it's designed designed for Kaiber. Yeah, thanks. For musicians, and I'm messing around with it because we've got a band going on, and we have some visual stuff and some songs. So I was wondering, Adam, how did your test go with that weekend of extra tokens.
To be continued. Apologies, I have another call in a minute here, but I just want to recommend to you also Neural Frames, Neural. It's specifically made for basically making videos that are attached to music, and it'll pull in the stems, and you can have the speed and the rate of the animations that the video is producing tie into, for example, the beat of the subwoofer and things like that. It's really cool.
How long can you make them?
There's no limit.
All right, I'll see you
It
guys
actually
later.
has a
I'm out.
timeline
I'll
at
never
the
see you
bottom,
again
and you
now.
can just keep
Now
going.
you're going to be up all night,
Bye.
right?
Yeah, you're welcome.
Bye-bye. All right. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining on the Learning Lab. And thanks to Custom GPT for sponsoring this session, as well as many of the other Learning Lab sessions. And yeah, David, I want to check out your comics. I think that they bring a real intensity. Thanks, everybody. And don't forget to check out the conferences that we talked about earlier, which should be really interesting. And the news feed, the AI news feed, it's, for me, it's like really keeps me in touch with like what's going on and is there anything I need to be paying attention to. Thank you again, everybody, and take care. Bye-bye.